Hey traders, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Thank you as always for joining me. I have done it again. I have jumped off the cliff of commitment, and I'm going to figure out a way to land safely before hitting the ground. For you guys that are frequent followers of mine here, the Trading Coach Podcast just isn't a place for me to give you trading tips and give you some insights on how to become an independent, consistently profitable trader. But it's also a look inside really my reality, my journey, my life. And I like to also think that these podcasts are beneficial as far as self-improvement, self-development, empowerment, motivation, dedication, determination, all of that fun stuff that will make you a better human being as a whole. And that is related to trading as well. But again, the better we can grow as a person, the better we can grow our business. And it's almost summer, right? It's March when I'm recording this. It's almost summer. It's going to get hot out. So it's time to start working on that summer body. If you guys have been following the podcast, you know that I typically train really, really good during the summers. I carried that over into the fall this year. And then unfortunately I got hurt, right? I had the dislocated kneecap. I had the strained MCL. And then, as soon as I got back into things, I got sick basically twice. I had a stomach bug and the flu within a month period. And really, I've been kind of slacking on the fitness and physical well-being side of things. So for some reason, I decided that, hey, in the month of March, I'm going to challenge myself to do 5,000 push-ups. I have no idea where that number came from. I have no idea why I did it, but I did it. I put it out there, and now I have a lot of friends doing it as well. In fact, Dion is one of our tier 1 members, right? I met him at the ball. He's a boxer as well. Love watching this stuff on YouTube because I've been doing a lot of heavy bag training too. He said, I'll take your challenge up of 5,000 push-ups, but I also challenge you to do 10,000 reps of like sit-ups and core stuff. So now I've got 2 challenges, right? I'm easily suckered into things. In fact, Jason Greystone is the same way. I put out the Jason Greystone. He broke it down. If you do 40 reps per hour per this and this and this and this, you'll get there. So I'm like, are you in? He was like, oh, you already know the answer. And this is kind of payback because a couple of years ago, Jason Greystone challenged me to a running challenge. It was part of a event we were doing to raise money for charity. And of course, I'm like, I'm in. I'll figure out how to do it later, but I'm in. And what's funny is that is really the personality type that successful people have, right? People think that those who are successful are fearless, right? We are not fearless. I fear the same things you guys fear, right? Every life-changing moment I had was first fought with fear and a little bit of cautiousness, right? Going back to, applying for grad school, right? Scared. What if I get rejected? What if I don't get accepted? How am I going to feel? Going to college in general was a big change. Leaving the house and living on my own, right? Fear. Starting my first or investing in my first real estate property. I actually pushed that back for a year. I should have done it a year earlier, but I was so scared that I kept making up excuses why not to do it for a year. We can even go to learning how to trade, right? I traded for so long I traded in the stock market and tried trading so long in Forex before finally truly committing. And to commit, it meant quitting 3 of my jobs and dedicating myself to getting good. And I was very fearful to do that, even marrying my wife, right? I knew she would say yes, but still the anticipation of her mom being there, my best friend being there, and her mom's kicking me under the table because she thought I had wet feet. And I finally get down on one knee, right? It's fearful. But as Will Smith said, on the other side of fear are the best things in life. So successful individuals, and just speaking of myself personally, I do face fear all the time. The difference is, instead of shying away from it, instead of saying like, oh, I'm so scared and I back away and run, I look at it, I plan a little bit, but eventually I just take action. I say, you know what? Go for it, right? It's like jumping into the water. I jump into the pool and I know it's going to be cold when I get in, but it's too late now. We'll figure out a way to deal with it. And that's typically how I act really well. But what's interesting is that with this 5,000 push-up challenge, and I don't really care about the 5,000 push-ups, it's the fact that I am now committed to doing it because I put it out there. I made it public. Me and my friends have a little side bet for what happens if we don't achieve it. But what we're really doing here is creating change. And I don't think I put this podcast episode out, but I have a different take on goals than most people, right? I'm not a big believer in time-based goals. I know a lot of people will say that if you don't write down when your goal needs to be accomplished, if you don't make it time-based, then it's not a real goal and you'll never get it. And I'm not against that. But I also know myself. And I think when it comes to anything in life, you need to know yourself. You need to know what motivates you and what's going to push you the best. And for me, it's not necessarily time-based goals. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback on that. So before you do it, I think certain goals should be time-based. There are certain things that are controllable that should be time-based. For example, if you are in school and you have a report that is due, your teacher says it's due on the 31st. Well, that's a time-based goal because if you don't get it done by the 31st, you're going to fail. So there's actually a deadline. But what's harder with many other goals, especially with goals that you are creating for yourself and they're not outside goals, is that procrastination happens. For many people, if you don't make a time-based goal, if you don't say, I have to get this done by the 31st, you can procrastinate. And again, it takes a certain type of person. I am personally a procrastinator, but I procrastinate with purpose, if that makes sense. I procrastinate to the last minute, but the last minute I get it done. And I guess you say if you don't have time-based goals, how do you get it done? I'm just very driven to get what I want to get done so I can move on to the next thing. But, and again, that's a whole nother podcast that you guys will probably hear later if it ever gets put out. It's one of the many that are in the hopper. But what I value from goal setting is the journey. I actually don't really care about the goal. I don't feel the goal is that important because the goal is just a result of the tactics taken to achieve the goal, right? It's no different than trading, right? What do we say all the time in trading? Process over outcome, right? Process over profits is another thing. And the response that sometimes you get, and I think this myself as well, Akil, isn't the main goal to make profits? Because after all, if you want to be a consistent or an independent, consistently profitable trader, if you want to trade full time, if you want to grow a trading business, don't you need to be profitable? So shouldn't the goal be make profits? And yes, the ultimate goal is to make profits. At the end of the day, that's the outcome that we desire. But what we need to do is we need to kind of not focus on that goal and focus on what is going to get us that goal. And the process of trading the right way, the process of consistently analyzing the market, the process of consistently executing good trades, the process of consistently not sabotaging our trading by making psychological errors, that is what's going to give us the profits in the long run. So if we fully focus on doing those things, those process-based goals, then the outcome will be what we desire. And it's the same thing with other goals as well. So what I'm looking to do here with this push-up challenge, I guess push-up and sit-up challenge, thanks to Dion. I got to do two things. But what I'm doing, my goal for doing this, I want a result, right? Last time I did something like this where when I was in a real training cycle and I did like 200 push-ups a day and whatever many 500 crunches a day, the body came out looking really, really good. And I felt really, really fit, strong core, which is good for whatever you want to do. And that's positive. But what's more important is that we're creating habits. We're creating small permanent changes. By committing to a challenge, you can break it down and say, okay, if I want to do 5,000 push-ups in the month of March, I'm already a few days late, I have to do 180 a day, right? If I have to do 180 a day, I'm not going to do 180 at once, right? You'll get the noodle arms. So how can I break that down? All right, well, 180 divided by 4 is 45. So if I do 4 sets of 45 each day, I'll be at 180, which will eventually get me to 5,000. Okay, well, I can't do 45 at once. So maybe I'm going to do, or I can't do 45 at once, or excuse me, so 180 at once. So maybe I'm going to break it down into 4 times a day. When I wake up, I'll do 45. And then at lunch, I'll do 45. And then sometimes in the afternoon, later, I'll do 45. And then right before bed, I'll do 45. And what that does is it eventually gets us into a habit, right? It's kind of like wake up, push-ups, eat, work, push-ups, lunch, work, come home, push-ups, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes part of our daily routine, right? No different than in trading. What do we do each and every day in trading? We stick to a consistent routine. I wake up, I play around on the internet, right? I go do my pre-market analysis. I go from the daily time frame to the 4-hour time frame. I do this, I do that, right? It's the same routine, and that creates a habit. So what we're doing is we're making small permanent changes where once we implement this into our routine, and it takes time, don't get me wrong, it now becomes a habit. So even after the challenge is done, you're much more likely to continue doing this, right? You do it, your body starts feeling good. You're like, man, this is the best I've felt in a month in a long time. Well, why would I stop? And you just keep repeating that, or it becomes a habit and you keep doing it. Either that or you just challenge yourself again to do more, right? You say, okay, well, I did 5,000. Can I do 7,500? And now you just add a couple more to each set. But those are small permanent changes, and that's what's going to get you the big massive changes in life, right? I don't know if you guys ever saw a video or the infographic that we have. If you guys are on the tier 1 platforms, go to the infographic section, the library, and there's a nice visual on this that Jason Greystone made, but it's the power of 1% change, right? This goes hand in hand with the Kaizen philosophy of continuous improvement, where you try to get a little bit more efficient or a little bit better each and every day. And if you consistently do that on a daily basis, you'll get a lot better over time. Same thing with the power of 1% change, right? If you change by 1% each and every day, your curve on life will be drastically different. I like looking at it like this, right? Look at where you're at right now, right? You can be in your office, you can be in the car driving. In fact, the car driving would be a great example. You can be anywhere. Look at where you're at right now and just look straight forward. Now, imagine if you were to walk, right, 1,000 miles straight forward in a direct line. Think about where you would line up, and if you have a pen and paper, it's even better, right? Take your paper, draw a straight line, right, and that's where you end up 1,000 miles later. Now, I want you to take where you're at right now, and I want you to shift to the left just by 1%, right? Just by 1%, just a little bit, right? A small little change, right? An insignificant change today. Would you guys agree? Insignificant. Well, Akil, I just shifted 1% and I'm looking in the same exact direction. So you think. You've actually made a very small change. Now, imagine that you walk in that straight line 1,000 miles with that little shift. Or if you have that pen and paper out, make that little 1% shift, 1 degree shift, I guess you could say, on the paper and draw another straight line. Now, let me ask you this. With just that single change, do you see the difference that it made? 1,000 miles later, at the end of your paper later, that line or you're in a significantly different spot than you started. Am I right? Now, imagine if you do that every day. That was just 1 degree of change on one day in walking straight. Imagine if you do it every day. Shift 1%, improve 1%, improve 1%, improve 1%. Think about how drastically different your life is going to be. You're going to end up in a completely different spot. Now, if that 1% change is negative, you're going to be in a completely different spot to the downside. We see that with people that get into massive debt a lot, where these small little things kill it, right? Remember, I was doing the latte factor experiment on myself over the past month or so, 2 months. And I discovered that I was spending $200 a month on Midnight Milky Way Gatorade and Baby Bell cheese. Now it's good, tastes good, but it's not $200 a month good, right? So that's a kind of a small negative change, right? I created a habit in my life where I was stopping at this place just because, and I was spending money, and it was only a little bit of money a day. But over time, right, you add it up over a year, I'm spending $2,000 plus on this stuff. That's an example of a small negative change, right? Now, what if you make a small positive change? What if you decide to save, right? I'm going to, instead of throwing my change away, right? For you guys that use cash or maybe use those apps that, whenever you spend with your credit card, whatever cash goes back into an investment account, right? What if instead of just getting change, getting, a couple pennies each day from your cashier and you throw them to the side or lose them, right? What if you save that on a consistent basis. Well, you've earned so much more than you did before. And again, these are small, simple examples, but I hope you guys get the point. Small, permanent changes are what lead to gigantic, massive changes over time. But it has to become a habit. It just can't be a one-time deal. You have to commit to doing it. And this is very similar to what I did in my trading, right? When I really kind of had my light bulb moment in trading, it was the realization that I was at fault. It wasn't my system. It wasn't the strategy. It wasn't the market. It wasn't the broker. I was the one sabotaging myself in my trading, and it was due to making trading mistakes. It wasn't even that I was a bad trader. I was a good trader. I was fine with technical analysis. I was good with decision making. I was good with stop placement and target placement. My problem was psychological. I just sabotaged myself. I moved stops back. I took targets early. I skipped trades because of fear. I entered trades I wasn't supposed to be in because of greed, right? All that fun stuff. When I finally looked myself in the mirror and had the realization that I was the one making mistakes, I made a goal. I made a goal that says I was going to cut out my trading mistakes. And I didn't have a time on this goal because, again, you know how I feel about time-based goals. I didn't say I'm going to cut out all mistakes by December. I just said this, right? I said each and every month, I'm going to eliminate my mistakes by one. So if I was making 30 trading mistakes in January, my goal for February was to make 29, right? A small change, just a slight change, right? An easily obtainable goal. Would you guys agree? What is harder to do? Go from 30 psychological trading mistakes. Some of you have been working on trading psychology for a while, so you know exactly how hard it is. Easier said than done. We'll just stop making mistakes. Yeah, all right, you try it. You try it when the market starts yo-yoing your money back and forth. Easier said than done. But what do you think is harder? Right? Saying to myself, Akil, I'm going cold turkey. I'm cutting out all my trading mistakes today. No mas. Right? Or saying, okay, we're gonna just do one. Same thing with dieting, right? You guys ever try to do a crash diet? And some people are mentally tough and they can do it. But you guys ever try to cut all sugar out of your diet at once? You just wake up and say no more sugar, right? What typically happens, right? You relapse, right? It goes really, really bad. Your body's not used to it. It craves it, and your body it starts going crazy. But if you make small permanent changes, hey, I'm gonna go from a full sleeve of Oreos to only like 8 Oreos. I'm going to go from the double stuffed Oreos to the normal Oreos, right? Small changes, right? Those build consistent habits. So by telling myself the goal, I'm going to make one less trade, it was very easy for me to accomplish. It was easy for me to obtain. And therefore, I felt a lot better about myself, right? We all feel better when we achieve a goal. We all feel horrible when we don't achieve a goal. When we don't achieve a goal, we feel like a failure. When we achieve a goal, we feel good. When we feel good, that makes us want to achieve more goals. So I'm eliminating one mistake per month. I'm like, man, I want to do that again. I'm eliminating 2, 3. And it was a game for me to eliminate as much as I can. So instead of making that 1% change, I was making more like a 2% change, 3%, 4% change. And what happened over time before I even knew it is I stopped making trading mistakes. I stopped making trading mistakes. And the funny story I always tell our traders is that I remember getting a statement from my broker. They shoot it through email every month or whatnot. And I remember looking at it and there were no like parentheses at the bottom of the statement. And for you guys that have been consistently losing traders, right, you know parentheses mean you're in the negative. So I'm like, okay, how much did I lose this month? And I got it, and there were no parentheses. And I emailed my broker. I'm like, hey, I think you sent me the wrong statement. And they're like, no, that's yours. I'm like, no, it's not. It's profitable. It can't be mine. And that's when it hit me. I'm like, man, I wasn't even focused on the bigger goal. I was focused on these small permanent changes, and these small permanent changes finally led me in a direction where I started seeing a difference, right? No longer did it seem like, hey, well, I shifted a little bit, but I'm still walking in that straight line. I'm still ending at the same place. Before I knew it, I was so focused on walking in that straight line by making 1 degree change here, 1 degree change there, 1 degree change there, that when I picked my head up, right, I was in an entirely different place. And it was amazing. So I challenge you guys to do that. I do challenge you to the fitness challenge, right? 5,000 push-ups, 10,000 sit-ups or core exercises in the month of March. Who's with me? I've got about 20 people signed up as well. Hashtag March push-up challenge or March fitness challenge. You'll see me on Instagram promoting it. Don't worry. Greystone's already showed off the guns, banging out 40 this morning like a real stud. That's what I'm talking about. Got me pumped up. I'm at 110 right now, so I'm trying to get off to a good start just in case I have some slacking days. But I challenge you guys. Try to make small permanent changes in your trading. Think of something right now that you could be doing better. Something very, 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 very small, even if it's consistently waking up on time or consistently taking, notes instead of just looking at your chart and being like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, just writing it down. Find something that you want to change. And in fact, do this, right? Do this. A lot of you guys are present on social media. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I demand you do, because I want to spread this challenge across everyone. I think this is going to be really cool to inspire everyone. I want you to either, no matter what platform you're on, if you're on Facebook, leave a message underneath this, a comment underneath this video. Tell me what you're going to change this month. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment underneath this video. Tell me what you are going to change this month. If you're on Twitter, at me, at Akil Stokes RTM. Tell me what you're going to change this month. If you're on Instagram, shoot me a story, right? They tag me in it. Tell me what you're going to change this month. And my thought right now as I think about it, if we can get everyone participating, right? Because I know how this 5,000 push-up challenge was contagious. I shared it, and then Jason shared it, and then he shared it, and now we have about 20-something people that are all doing it. Just because someone else challenged them, they said, okay, well, I ain't scared. And even, here's a cool one, even Jesse, right? One of our members, Jesse said, you know what? There's no way I'm doing 5,000, but I'm going to do the challenge anyway. Because even if I get to say 2,000 for the month, guess what? That's a win, because that's 2,000 I wouldn't have done elsewise. I'm getting goosebumps now. I'm fired up. I love this. But I challenge you, let us know what you're changing. And it's not only going to hold you accountable by putting it out there, but it's going to allow our other traders to kind of read and get ideas on what they can be changing. Because no doubt there are people listening to this podcast that are like, well, I don't really know what to change, Akil. I never even thought about that. And by reading through these comments saying, okay, Brad's going to change that, Bruce is going to change that, this is what Tim's going to change, Tony's going to do that, it gives them ideas. They go like, okay, well, I'm going to do that too. Okay, that's a good idea. And we all get inspired, we all get empowered. So make sure you do that. I look forward to reading it. We'll see how charting goes this month. The guns may be a little too sore to drag Fibonacci's on the right way, so it may be a slower month of trading. But I hope you guys accept the challenge, not just in trading, but I hope you guys accept it as life. Small, permanent changes are what create massive, life-changing moments.